The short answer that brought me from the stage to the screen is that I've been looking for many years for a film to direct, and when this screenplay came to me from John Logan, I was very clear that it offered something that I was looking for in many ways. The most obvious, apart from the beautiful narrative and the story that I would be able to tell, was also the confidence that at the centre of it were these extraordinary parts for actors. And having never done a film before, the one thing you look for is at least one area you might be able to bring something from your previous job into the new job. And my relationship with actors is the thing I perhaps cherish most. And so an opportunity to do a film where the relationship about building character with actors was at the centre of the film was something that I was hoping to find and found it.
My question is, what has it been the most challenging thing about playing these two geniuses, Max Perkins and Tom Wolfe? Thank you so much.
It's hard to single something out. I think one of the things that I found unusual, it won't have gone unnoticed, that it's not the first time I've played a rather restrained man in a suit. But taking a character like that and pitting him against someone whose energy is so completely contrary to that was a very interesting challenge for all of us, and I think for Michael as well. My instinct was to take him even further into a taciturn, repressed silence, which is very much how he was observed to be. I thought people talked about Maxwell Perkins as being barely audible at times, and that's how I started it when we rehearsed it. But of course, Jude, who's jumping off the walls and swinging from the chandeliers, and then there still has to be a scene. So, it was about actually making that energy work where it's completely one conflicting with the other, but still works as a dynamic. So I think trying to adjust to each other's completely different energy was quite challenging.
Yeah. Similarly for me, though in memory, I think one of the biggest challenges was also really celebrating and therefore bringing to life the speed of thought with which these two great men conversed. And it was clear from our wonderful script that the rhythm and the music that was to be found between these two men was very much at the heart of making their intellectual abilities clear. And Michael was very adamant from the beginning that he wanted a staccato, almost rat-a-tat between us. So I remember endlessly rehearsing before scenes to try and get the speed of their responses as quickly as possible. So the challenge of finding that music, to me, was something that stands out.
That aspect of him is probably what fascinated me the most. I think that someone who is heroic in a way that is not dependent on being in the front line, that is the facilitator of others' talent, of those who are in the front line, and without whom I don't think they would have achieved what they achieved, was fascinating to me. And also someone whose eye and his ear was so finely tuned, and whose judgment and his integrity was so intact, and yet who did not want any credit whatsoever, whose instinct was to remain invisible, particularly in an era when we are all clamoring to be visible. We're perhaps it's always been thus, but we now have the tools to broadcast ourselves, and we obsessively do so. We're sitting up here being photographed, and people take selfies. There's the Facebook profiles and Instagram, and there's a kind of rampant exhibitionism, which may have been in us, and I'm an actor, so I know what I'm talking about. But we now have instruments with which to do that, and there's a kind of frenzy to do so. And I think that Perkins is thrown into relief against that background?
I think every actor has a different process when you have to assume an accent. Mine starts with listening to recordings of people from the same area as the accent of the accent that you're trying to assume, mimic, and then that slowly moves on to the page and the text that you have, and looking at that phonetically. And I found this one actually not, I wouldn't say easy, but I found it easier than others. It's got an. I've just remembered something. Laura's family is from the same area.
Yeah, I was just going to speak
Tom,
up.
Yeah,
And-
that Tom came from. So I also had a dialect coach and Laura, so I had an extra pair of ears on set, reminding me of certain vowel sounds and word endings.
And actually, Jude's underestimating what he was able to do with that movie. This is not just a Southern accent. And like any country, there's a great a difference, a range of Southern accents. And this accent is a Southern accent with a hint of Appalachia in it, which is very specific and not easy to put your mouth around if you're not accustomed to it. And then also what I loved hearing, what I loved being on set was also hearing him speak, because the rhythm felt very familial to me. So he's completely underestimating the skill involved there.
And I have a question for Colin Firth. You mentioned it before that it's not your first character, a man wearing a suit, being a bit restrained. What's your fascination about this kind of role, and does it have something to do with yourself?
The suit is the costume, I put it on. If someone wants me to wear a mankini in a film, I'm available. Anybody wants to free me from restraint? I'm all up. Yeah, no, I'm ready to burst out of a cake.
Has anyone ever edited your art in a way that's upset you?
Well, yes, I have been edited. It's every script you write gets changed in the process. But to me, when the genius of genius is a binary act, it is Max Perkins and Thomas Wolfe together create something. And, I'm a dramatist. I don't write prose, I don't write novels or poems, and I exist to collaborate. And my work is most exciting to me when I'm sitting with Michael Grandage talking about our new play. Or I'm sitting with Ridley Scott saying, all right, we're doing an Alien movie, how are we going to do it? We're going to figure these things out. So things change, I lose things that are valuable to me, but there's abundant recompense in that, as there was for Thomas Wolfe. He was incredibly proud of Look Homeward Angel. He knows it's a better book than what he delivered, and he grew because of his relationship with another artist. And that's how I've always felt, I've always tried to make my way through life as well.